Welcome to the Mom as Well podcast. We are digging deep into the gifts and the gaps in foster and adoptive parenting. I'm Tara Hutton, and I'm glad you're here.
Mama's Well.
Yes, she is. Well, hello. I am really have been inspired. Will continue to be inspired by my guest today. If you go back to episode 8, where I first introduced a friend of mine, Nicole Bender, and her adoptive / fostered daughter, Madison. You might guess where I'm going. Then later we had, last week we had Madison join us. And this week you are going to be so inspired by this woman. You know, as foster and adoptive parents and as the daughter of an addict, it's sometimes we forget, we can forget the story. There's more to the story than our story and than the child's story. Those are so important, and we need to be very aware of all of those. But today, I want to introduce you to Madison's biological mother, Cindy. And Cindy has spent her last 3 years with sobriety, and after a 35-year addiction, and which cost her greatly. And she has a beautiful story, and I just think it's super, super important for us to never, ever, ever forget. No matter the hurt that's happened, it's super important for us to never forget that the parents, our children's parents, have a story too. And so that's what I want you to hear it today. I want you to hear this is an incredible story, because this doesn't happen this way often. And so I want you to hear from Cindy today, and the vulnerability and the courage that it takes for her to sit and tell this story is unbelievable. And so I am so, so thankful that you would choose to do this, that you would choose to share your story with us. And I know that you are so proud of your daughter, but I hope you are so proud of yourself too. And so, anyway, welcome.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
I want to, if you didn't see episode 8, please go back and watch. And if you didn't see Madison's episode last week, please go back and watch. This is just another side of the story, and you've already seen what a beautiful story it is. It's a beautiful story, Cindy, and so I just want you to have an opportunity to share yours, and I'm gonna be right here with you, and just say what you'd like to say, and just remember that this audience are mostly foster and adoptive parents that are loving on kids, kids like your kids. And so, anyway, tell us your story. Tell us. I keep interrupting you. Never let you start. But I know from stories that Nicole has told me, you were a mom that when she was a very young mom that she was looking up to, and she saw your life as you were like a super mom, somebody that she wanted to be just like. And so what happened? What happened there, Cindy?
Well, drugs happened.
Okay.
I started using drugs, mainly alcohol and marijuana, when I was very young. And then I can remember going to the dentist and getting put on pain medication because I got my wisdom teeth out, and remember feeling like, having a good feeling with that, like I liked it. Mm-hmm. So then years later, was introduced to someone that was able to get, a lot of them, and started just taking them, not a full-blown addiction, but so we moved from Alabama to Texas. Had one child at the time. She was 6 months old. And later on was introduced to something called the pill mills, which was here in Houston, and it was just a doctor you could go to, multiple doctors you could go to get any kind of pills you wanted, as many as you wanted. And so that became a full-blown addiction. And I started taking a lot of them. Me and my husband both took a lot of pills. And
Like painkillers,
Xanax, muscle relaxers mainly. And I was married for 20 years in a very controlling marriage. And I was a stay-at-home mom for 15 years and maintained that addiction for a long time. And then I just got to where I took so many that everybody started noticing. Got a divorce, moved back to Alabama. Got a divorce, moved in with my brother, me and my 4 kids after 20 years of marriage. And, I hadn't worked because I'd been a stay-at-home mom. And instead of, at that point, doing what I should have done and got me a job, got me and my kids a place to live, I just chose to do the opposite of that and chose to just let my brother take care of us. And that caused a lot of problems. It lasted for a long time, and then, it just kind of fell apart because of my dumb decisions I was making. And then me and my kids moved to Alabama. We moved in with my parents, and of course that lasted for a little bit, but didn't last that long because of, again, the decisions I was making, putting myself before my kids. And CPS got involved, and I lost my kids. That was a very pivotal moment for me, though, because when that happened, I just lost all my purpose. And instead of doing what was right, I know that my family was just trying to get me to do what was right, but it caused me to go the complete opposite direction of what it should have done.
So your family, and you and I sat down and talked a little bit about this yesterday, but your family called the authorities, and that at that point, I could tell that was very painful for you.
It was.
And you also expressed that you understood, like, why they would do that. They were kind of like thinking this is a last ditch effort to save her, to save you, to save the kids. But that was very painful for you.
It was. I was angry, felt alone, betrayed, and like I said, lost all my purpose because of that.
Yeah.
Because I was feeling like I didn't. Okay, well, if you want to take care of them, then you take care of them. I don't have to take care of them right now, so I'm just going to go get high and do what I want to do, and which caused me to go even farther into addiction.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think? We didn't talk about. I don't want to scare you. I want to ask you something, but we didn't talk completely about But what do you think at that point? Maybe we did talk about this, but at that point, what would have been, what would have been helpful for you at that point for them? Because we talk about how, addiction is a family disease. So, right. So you have the addict, and then the codependence, and then the whole, intertwining of everybody kind of protecting and holding everybody up, but they're all just hanging on by a thread.
Yes.
What do you think could have been helpful for you at that time?
I think just for me, for them to do it in a loving way, but make me take care of my kids. You have to take care of these kids. I think that would have helped more than
not to do it for you.
Yes, don't do it for me. Make me do it.
Yeah. Instead of just taking them all away at one failed swoop. Believing in you.
Believing in me. Yes.
Yeah. That's
that would
hard.
have helped.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, we talked about how that made you feel, and then, so we're talking about, I know a little bit about the pain medications. That's something that I've had direct relationship with, and that's the drug of choice from my father. Very, very, very addictive. very addictive.
Yes.
So, you know, that factor in itself, I think, is a tremendous part of most. I can't say numbers, but I think a huge majority of the cases that CPS probably sees involve addiction.
Yes.
You know, and that makes us, you know, that's enough to make you go from a great mom to low as can be, where your kids are being taken.
Yes.
That's hard, and I think we can forget about that as a society. We forget about, you know, I know you come from a family that has addiction that runs through it, and we can forget what that does to people.
Yes.
So I think that's good for us to remember.
Yes. And I mean, nobody wakes up one day and just decides they want to be an addict. It's a very gradual thing. And especially with the prescription drugs, because you think it's okay because a doctor gave them to you. Mm-hmm. And then you're taking more than you should. And it's a gradual thing. Mm-hmm. It's not that anybody just wakes up one day and wants to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think that's right. But I've been very angry at my father before.
Yes.
Of why can't you stop, you know, and feeling like he's choosing that over me.
Absolutely.
You know, like, you want a relationship with me, well, stop, you know, just stop.
Right.
And obviously it's not that easy.
It is not that easy.
Yeah.
It was one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
But I was able to take a drug called Suboxone to help me get off of them. Mm-hmm. And when I moved from Texas to Alabama, I did get off of them. Mm-hmm. And I was off of them. I mean, I have never been back on them again since then. Mm-hmm. But then I went into a meth addiction.
Mm. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. And how did you do? What happened? You were just needing to numb the pain. Did you have your kids at that point?
No.
Okay.
Just, I mean, off and on a little bit at a time.
Okay.
But no, not enough to say, yes, I had my kids.
Yeah. So the meth came, you got off the Xanax and the pain pills, and then the meth started. Mm-hmm. And you just running with the wrong crowd that introduced you to that, or how did that happen?
I mean, I had done it before, just recreationally.
Okay.
So it wasn't that anybody, I mean, there's a lot of people in Alabama that I know that do it, and it wasn't hard to find it. Mm. So it just happened.
Yeah.
It just happened.
And at that whole time, are you just thinking like, what else do I have? What purpose do I have? Or what was going on how are you feeling at that time?
Honestly, I was just feeling very selfish. I mean, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be high. And plus, you know, with losing my kids and the whole process of that, just made me want to cover it up, you know. I was just feeling guilt, shame, and I didn't know how to fix it because, like I said, I hadn't worked in so long. I didn't feel like I would be able to get a job. I really didn't try, but I just didn't feel like I was going to be able to take care of my kids, you know.
Yeah.
And all that guilt and shame, I just wanted to cover it up.
Yeah, I can imagine. You'd gone so far down, you felt like
I felt like I was in a bottomless pit.
Did you think you were ever going to come? I mean,
I didn't, and there's no way I could have done it on my own.
Yeah.
Without going to rehab, I could not have done it.
Yeah.
I would have never done it.
Yeah. Let's, you just mentioned that. Like, so because now we've heard, you know, Madison's story and talking about how she moved here because she wanted to live with Nicole, and she talked about how difficult that was for her to leave her other three siblings, your other three kids in Alabama, even though some of them were a little bit older. Two were older, one was younger. So leaving the younger one was very difficult for her, and then also feeling like she was abandoning the others, and they weren't so happy about that either, right? At first.
Right.
But I want, when she was talking about that, making that decision, she made that decision because she talked earlier about them being a pack. You know, they were the stability that together. The four of them were the stability together.
Right.
And so she talked about how important they were, but then when she had to make a decision that was for her. what was best for her. And she talked about how painful that was. And as she was sitting there, Cindy, I was just thinking in my mind, you know, addiction's a family disease, and our family can make us sicker, or our family can invite us to healing. And I almost see her as being that tipping point, that first person that made that decision that she was going to fight for herself.
Yes.
Which invited you, in a way, to fight for yourself.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's just I don't want to project onto her or to you that that's what happened, but it was hard for her to hear that, because, you know, that would be kind of like that she wasn't wanting to take any responsibility for the hard work that you've done. Mm-hmm. And I'm not asking her to, but I think she invited you.
She did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's beautiful. And I think what's beautiful about it is that we think we have to do it for you. I think I have to do something for my dad. And she's talked before about having to do something for her dad, who's still in his addictions. Right. But really what she needed to do something for was herself.
Right.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I think that she's a light to all of them, to all of us.
She's a light to all of you?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
She is.
Talk about, well, I've already had tears about this, but tell us about that. Tell us about how Madison choosing to get better for herself is a light for all of you.
Well, because she didn't want to live and be a victim or let that define her. Mm-hmm. So she chose something better for herself, and I was all for her coming to live with Nicole because I knew that I couldn't take care of her. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, honestly, Nicole would have taken them all if they would have all been willing to come. I know she would have, or someone in this family would have. Right. You know. But they love the family in Alabama, and the family in Alabama loves them, you know, and they didn't want to leave that or leave them. Yeah. And I understand that, too. Yeah. Yeah. Madison had more time with Nicole and them when she was younger. Yeah.
Kind of coming on summers and things like that. So she already had this relationship.
She did. That's what made the difference too.
So I think I want to hold on to that. I think that's so beautiful. And I think it's so critical for young people who whose parents are addicts, because I am one, and Madison is one, and you are one, right? So we want to fix the people we love, but we can't. Right. But we can work on ourselves, and that encourages them. Yes. So you saw Madison. You would come and visit her some, right? Because you were living in Alabama, and you would come and visit. And so how did you wind up, after 35 years of addiction, how did you wind up in recovery?
Madison and Katie both were living with Nicole at that time.
Okay, so Katie's the little sister, and she came to live with, okay.
Yes, and I came to visit them on January the 4th, 2018. And I had been getting high all the way up until the time I got on the airplane. Mm-hmm. And with a return ticket to go back home. Okay. And no plans of going to rehab when I came here. Mm-hmm. Just came to see my girls, you know. Mm-hmm. And Nicole was talking to me, and she told me that I wasn't done being a mom, and I just needed someone to remind me of that.
Sorry.
And so she had told me about a rehab that someone she knew went through, and that it really made a difference in their life, and asked me if I would be willing to talk to that girl that went through it about it. And I said, sure. So still skeptical, you know, not thinking, oh, I'm going to stay here and go to rehab. But I just, it was just the perfect time. I was at a place in Alabama that I didn't want to be at. You know, I just kind of exhausted all my hope of having a life there that would be of any quality. And so I talked to the girl, and we made an appointment to go talk to Miss Dottie at New Life Women's Center in Montgomery. And I went in there on the 15th of January, and it changed my life. Wow. It was so hard, but it changed my life. I stayed for 15 months.
Wow.
It was the hardest thing I've ever done, because what I started doing there was nothing nothing. It couldn't even compare it to the life I had been living. You know, I didn't think I was that bad of a person, and I wasn't that bad of a person. I was
Sure.
just a drug addict, you know. I mean, I have a good heart. I always
course,
have, you
yeah.
know. But I just, it was a faith-based rehab,
Mm-hmm.
and just being there for that long of a period of time and just starting to do the right thing made me just want to do the right thing. But it took a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, because it took me a long time to get to the point I was at. So I knew that it was going to take a long time to get me out of it.
We don't just get to snap our fingers and heal all the things that have caused us to hurt and to hurt others. We have to do the hard work.
Yes, and I just had to look at the big picture and know that I didn't want to be living the way that I was living, and that I knew that I couldn't go on without my kids being in my life. Mm-hmm. There was just no way. Mm-hmm. And I wanted, through all the trauma and hurt that I caused, I never stopped loving my kids,
Right.
ever.
That's so important. Of
Yes.
course you didn't.
I did not, ever. I know that I didn't act like it, but I never, ever stopped loving them. Mm-hmm. And I knew that I had to get back to that point. And I knew that I didn't know how hard it was going to be, the rehab.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was going to be that hard.
What kept you there? I mean, I'm so impressed with that, because a lot of people start rehab, but to stay for 15 months and I know that you weren't allowed to have any conversations or any communication with people for like 6 months or something. I remember.
Well, after 30 days, you could write a letter.
Oh, okay.
And after 90 days, you could make a phone call, I think. And then after 6 months, I think you could see your family. Or, no, maybe after 90 days, your family could come see you. Then at 6 months, you could start having home passes and go see them.
Okay.
And that was very hard. But, I mean, I understand why they did it that way, you know, and you couldn't have any contact with anybody other than your immediate family.
Mm-hmm. And you were working, you worked the 12 steps there?
Yes.
Okay.
We worked the 12 steps. But we did a lot of hard work, you know. We read all kinds of books, had all kinds of classes, worked really hard, you know, learned to have a great work ethic, which was very important because I had lost, you know, all that along the way. And it just the whole process of it changed my life. And everything was, I mean, we breathed Jesus constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And I just developed an intimate relationship with him, and now I just don't want to do anything to disappoint him.
Yeah. Do you remember a point, Cindy, where you decided that you were worth it?
Well, I don't remember just really exactly a point. It was just a gradual thing.
A gradual thing. Yeah.
But it took a long time. I mean, I guess it was at the point where I was doing the right thing, you know, and I was proud of myself for being able to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And it just gradually happened.
Yeah. Well, you definitely are. And it's so amazing to see the relationship because you live here now. And your youngest, so your two youngest daughters are living here, and you see them regularly.
Yes.
And then your two older kids are living in Alabama, and you see them. And I was told by Nicole that you spent the first Christmas with all four of your kids. You drove to Alabama, or flew or whatever, to Alabama, and you spent Christmas with all four of your children for the first time in over a decade.
Probably so, yes. I mean, I would see them at times during Christmas, but it was just in and out, so you really couldn't say that I spent Christmas with them.
Yeah, but you were present with them.
Yes.
All of you, sober you, and they were there. I bet that was amazing.
And my grandson.
And your grandson. Yeah, Madison told us that. That's really neat.
He's precious.
Yeah, that's really, really, really amazing.
It is.
Amazing.
It's a miracle.
Yeah, it's amazing. And, you know, as a foster mom, I really, really adore my girl's birth mom. And I have a relationship with her. And I know some of her story. And she shared it with me. And it's given me tremendous compassion for her. Because while my mom didn't always know how to help me feel my feelings and all these important things that I'm trying to teach my children and myself and these parents, and my mom never left me. You know, I always had her there. And, you know, my dad was an addict. My mom remarried, and I had a stable home. And I think about my girl's mom, and I always tell her, and she calls me Mama Tara. I feel like a little bit of a mother figure to her, but she really didn't have that. And I think to myself, if I would have gotten her, if I could have mothered her, like there would have been she could have had a different story, you know, but she didn't have someone believing in her and telling her, you can do this. And I don't feel like I'm saying anything that she would not be okay with. But we all, like you said, you had a good heart. But drugs get us, don't they?
Oh man.
And I can't speak from experience there because I haven't had that. I mean, I do other things to medicate, right? But I haven't done that. And I'm thankful because I think that's a whole different thing. That's a chemical bodily reaction that becomes completely out of your control.
Yes, it does.
You know, turning off the remote or taking Netflix off your Apple TV so you don't watch any more TV or whatever. I mean, that's a lot different than letting go of meth or letting go of
drug
Xanax
addiction is a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah. So how has that been? Because that's where I was going with that, and I got off track. But just thinking about, you know, as much I want to encourage, you know, my daughter's mom, you know, and we have a relationship. We saw them at Christmas. We saw her at Christmas, but I can also feel threatened at times, you know, because I am their mom now, but she is their mom. I mean, there's a dynamic there that can feel like kind of uncomfortable, you know. I know in my head that it's so valuable for my girls to be able to talk about her and see her and those kind of things. But then the other part is like, I want them just to all be mine.
Right.
So how have y'all navigated that? Because I know Madison talked about it. She wants it all too. You know what I mean? She wishes it could have just been one, but she also realizes the value in having her life the way that it's played out. But I mean, is that difficult for you at times? I mean, is there sometimes?
It has not been.
Wow.
And I guess that's just God's grace.
Yeah.
Because I would never want to take her away from Nicole and them. I mean, they've been a major part of her life, and she's who she is today because of them. And I would never want to take that away from them.
But she is who she is because of you too.
Yes.
She is. I see her in you, and it's really beautiful.
Good.
But that's awesome. What do you think that is? Do you think? I know you said, you know, God's grace. I agree. What have been some ways that what do you feel from Nicole and Troy? We forget to mention Troy. He was there too, wasn't he? Nicole does have a husband named Troy.
And kids.
And kids. But what is it you think that they give to you that allows you, you know, just thinking to myself, what could I give to Mama Stella that would let her feel that?
They show me compassion, and they show me that they love me, and that no matter what, they love me, and they want me to have a relationship with all of my kids. Nicole didn't have to set it up for me to go to rehab, but she wanted that for all of us. And I think that's just to help the mom get better if you can.
Yeah, if you have that access, and yeah, that's so good because you don't feel the need to take her because you're not feeling them pulling her.
Right.
It's like.
And I knew that it was going to take a while, you know, whenever I got out of rehab, for any of my kids to want to have a relationship with me. And I didn't ever push it. I knew that it would just happen naturally as long as I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, that they would do what they wanted to do, because I'm their mom and they're never not going to stop not love me, and I'm not ever going to not love them. But, you know, it was just going to take them a while. And I understood that.
That's good. Did they help you with that when you were in, I know you've been, when you got out, you said you stayed there 15 months, but I know you've continued, I know you go to meetings weekly, and maybe
Yes.
you went more than weekly at first or something, but y'all have done some work outside of rehab once you moved out. What was that like?
I mean, we did counseling while we were in rehab, Nicole's family and me and Madison
Okay.
and Jill,
Yeah.
because Katie had went to live with Jill and Shane, my
Yeah.
other
So
niece.
so Katie, just to clarify, is living with Nicole's brother and his wife.
She lives with me now.
She lives with you now. Okay,
Yes.
got it. So you've had this family has wrapped around.
Yes.
As families should.
Yes.
Like, you know, when we think about, you know, villages, when we watch old movies and we see these villages and, you know, everybody wraps around, and that's what's happened here, hasn't it?
Yes, and that happened in Alabama too.
Yeah, you wanted to talk about that.
Yes,
Let's
it
do
did
that.
happen in Alabama, you know, and I just want to I can't never thank anybody enough that was a part of helping to take care of my kids when I couldn't or I wouldn't. That's family members, brothers, sisters, my mom, my dad,
Yeah.
my cousins. You know, they did the best that they could, you know, and,
Yeah.
and I appreciate everything that they ever did.
Yeah, so I've
And
only
they
got to
still
see the
do.
Houston part, but that was going on. You've got stuff going on in Alabama with the other two.
And I mean, and they still do take care of them, you know. They're always there for them anytime they ever need anything.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what family's
And
supposed to be.
it was hard on my mom and dad because my parents were old.
Yeah,
And they, you know, were living with, all my kids were living with my mom and dad. And that was terrible on my mom and dad, but they loved them and they did the best they could to take care of them.
and you're grateful. I can
I'm
tell.
so grateful. I could
Yeah.
not be any more grateful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Wow, Cindy. Really, really, really amazing. So you wouldn't have to say another thing to have already completely inspired and encouraged and challenged even. You know, I think you've challenged us. Like, compassion is so powerful. Compassion for ourselves. And we can't have compassion for others, in my opinion, unless we practice it with ourselves. We can't give what we don't have. But if you've already said so much, in my opinion, that would just food for thought, grace, compassion, ways to nurture and help a bio family. And I just want to say, you don't have to know. You don't have to know anything about your kid's biological family to do this kind of thing, because a shift in your heart, a love and a compassion for people that you've never possibly even seen, changes the way that your kids experience you, and it'll change the way they see themselves. You know, if you have bitterness and rage and anger and judgment for their family, they feel that. And guess what? They're a part of their biological family. You know, that's who they are.
it's like attacking them.
It's like attacking them. And so if we can shift from a place of judgment or anger, and I realize, please know that I realize some hideous, horrible things have been done to our children that come to us from care. If that weren't the case, they wouldn't be with us. And that I am in no way justifying those types of behaviors at all. I am inviting us all to try and see the best sides of people and do what Nicole did for you, and that is, and you don't have to see someone or say someone to do this. It's a shift in our body, in our brain, in our thinking. But to say, you're not done being a mom. She was saying to you, I believe in you. That is so powerful.
It was very powerful.
Yeah, I can tell. It changed your whole life.
It did.
I mean, wow. So I just want to invite us all as foster and adoptive parents to to shift our mindset. And like I said, I am not at all advocating for even connecting of birth families to kids in situations where there is danger or safety is at risk. I mean, absolutely not. But I just think that we could all challenge ourselves to rethink our judgments and to build compassion in our hearts for people who are suffering and are hurting. Because like you said, nobody wakes up and says, I want to be an addict. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
And I don't want to take care of my kids anymore.
And I don't want to take care of my kids. Nobody does that.
Happens.
No, they don't. So is there anything just in closing that you would want to say to other foster and adoptive moms, kinship placements, guardianship, whatever, or to, what would you want kids to know?
I would just want to say that they can never be thanked enough. There's not enough words to describe how valuable they are to these kids. And I can't even imagine the sacrifice that it is for them. And that they are absolutely, whether they know it or not, it's God's love showing through them to these kids.
Mm. Yeah.
And that just keep doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Just keep loving. Just keep loving.
Yes.
You said something when we were talking the other day. It was talking about you and Nicole. I don't know if it was in counseling or after counseling or something, and you were just expressing how hard it was. And, when you just said it's hard on, and then Nicole expressed back to you, it's hard on us too. And
yes, and I wasn't even thinking about it being hard on them. I was just thinking about myself still. It was like I was in rehab, and I had been there maybe 9 months, and I told her, this is too hard. I'm going to stay till a year, and I'm done. Because it was a 12 to 18-month program. Mm-hmm. And that was just the mindset that I had. And I said, you just don't have any idea how hard it is.
Yeah.
And she didn't say anything about it that day, but the next week when I saw her, she brought that to my attention, and she said, I just want you to realize that this is really hard on us too, and it totally changed my perspective.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yes.
She it's not like her, I think she had some counseling to probably go back and say that to you.
Probably so.
I think I remember her saying that the counselor wanted her to make sure that she expressed to you, I think the wind is... That's so weird. That the counsel wanted to make sure that she expressed to you her feelings, and also just to know, hey, we're all in this. We're all doing hard things.
Yes.
Madison's doing hard things. We're doing hard things. You're doing your hard things. Let's keep doing our hard things so that we can, at some point, come back together, and be strong again.
Yes.
I thought that was really cool, and I don't think we can emphasize enough the importance. You've said it, and I'm going to reiterate it, but. You got to have support. You've got to have support, and you've got to have help. My goodness, we have a windstorm going on here. You've got to have support, and you've got to have help. And sometimes you have to ask for that.
Yes, there's no way I could do it alone. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I had to just go back out, and go back to the same life, around the same atmosphere that I was in, I would not be able to do this. I can promise you.
And you're 3 years in,
Uh-huh.
And you are still under some wings, right? Some umbrella, some supportive family, right?
I am. I have a lot of accountability partners.
Okay, a lot of accountability, and you're living with some family right now, and you're working, and you're seeing your kids, and you're making a lot of headway, but you are still being supported in a way. Now, we all need support, but I just want to make sure that this is a long journey.
It is.
It's a long journey. I don't want anyone to think this is like, oh, she went for 15 months and she's good as gold, and you've continued to allow people to help support you.
Yes.
While you're, I'm not saying you're sitting on someone's couch. You're working.
Yes.
And you're moving in a direction.
Yes.
Going to meetings, all that.
Yes. And it's really hard on me, and it weighs heavy on my heart that I may have to stay here forever, which it's a good place for me to be. But I mean, I have another daughter and a son and a grandson in Alabama that I want to be with too. You know, that's hard for me.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah. How do you? But you're choosing. Tell me about that. Tell me how you're making these.
And they
decisions.
support me in staying here because they know that it wouldn't be good for me to come back there. But I'm missing my grandson grow up, you know. Maybe someday I will be able to do that. Or maybe someday we can just all move to meet in the middle, you know.
Yeah.
You just never know. But it's been a beautiful transformation, the relationships coming back together. It really has. My son that wouldn't even really talk to me even when I got out of rehab. I mean, me and him talk all the time now, and I have a good relationship with my daughter, and we just, you know, thank God for FaceTime and Snapchat because I can see them all the time, you know, through that.
So how did you do that? Did you, I mean, that probably hurt. I can imagine that hurt that he wouldn't talk to you, right?
I didn't blame him, though.
Wow.
I did not blame him at all.
You've done your steps. You've worked your steps,
I did not
haven't
blame
you?
any of them.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't deserve it. I had to earn it.
That's how you know. That's how you know. That's what I'm waiting. I'm waiting for that. You know, because the addict blames everybody else,
Absolutely.
and the recovered take responsibility, and they
Yes.
say I am not a victim anymore.
Yes.
I won't be a victim. That's really powerful.
And
Cindy.
I hope that my kids or family members or friends, you know, that see my story, that they'd be encouraged, and that my kids would be, you know, notice and not fall into the trap that I fell into, because it is a trap for sure.
Yeah.
And that if they do, that they can see that there's a way out of it. You just got to face your fear and dig in and do it.
Talk about your feelings, right? We talked about that a lot with Madison.
Yes, because when I went to rehab, I was scared. I mean, I didn't really want to do. I mean, I wanted to do it because
Sure.
I knew I needed to do it, but it was scary to just give up every single thing. You know, I didn't. I mean, I came here with just the clothes I had on and a few clothes in a bag, and never looked back. But that's what it took for me personally to be able to do it.
Yeah. Wow. Brave woman. And you didn't want to do it, but you did.
Yes, I did,
Yeah.
because I knew I had to.
We do what we want to do, right?
Yes.
I mean, we all know that, right?
I was afraid to do
You were
it, but I
afraid,
wanted to do it. And I just had to keep focusing on the big picture, not what was right in front of me and what was so tough or what I was dealing with, you know. I just had to keep saying, you're doing this for a reason, and it's all going to work out, and you're going to be able to have a relationship with your kids and your family again. I just had to focus on that. And it happened.
Amazing.
It happened.
Amazing. I think some of my biggest takeaways just in this conversation is, and I don't know why, because this is not something we talked about earlier or anything, but just the fact that Madison made a choice to leave the only real, that was her family. She left her family because she saw an opportunity to do something. Like she knew she wasn't well here. She knew she wasn't doing well here, and she saw an opportunity to be well, and she took it, even though she fought all of everything that was saying, you're leaving these people behind. What's going to happen to them? This will be your fault if something happens, all this stuff. And then the same for you. You saw an opportunity to be well, and you let go of every voice in your head that was saying, I'm being selfish to leave my kids in Alabama and leave my kids with other people and all this stuff. But if I don't get well, I'm never going to get it.
Right.
And you getting well is encouraging your others, all of your kids.
Yes.
I am 100% positive that everyone is looking at you and is completely inspired. And the only message that you could possibly be sending, I mean, you're sending a lot of messages, but the overbearing message is look what my mom did. If my mom can do that, I can. I mean,
Or maybe my mom can,
Or
if
maybe-
it's the kids saying that.
yeah, that's what, yeah, exactly. I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
And it's not just caused healing with me and my kids, but my family members, because I did a lot to hurt them. And it just causes healing everywhere. I mean, it just boom.
Trickling out. You just,
Yes.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll get to front row seat to see this beautiful unfolding. And I thank you for being here, Cindy. And I just am inspired by you, and I know that everyone is. So thank you. Thank you
for
very
having
much.
me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Guys, you know what? I don't even, there's just not much more to say other than if you're watching this or listening this, would you, I just want to ask, this would feel good. Leave Cindy a comment, encourage her, encourage Madison, encourage Nicole, and encourage yourself. Like, this is hard, but like she said, like the other, we're all doing hard things. And hard things give us strength and courage and just endurance and make us a better person. And so I just want to encourage all of us to say, man, if she did that, I can do this. And I hope you've gleaned a lot of wisdom and a lot of just really powerful truths in these stories, the 3 of these stories, and make sure that you go back and watch episode 8, then again, last week's episode with Madison, and then, of course, Cindy's story. This is a beautiful, beautiful picture of healing, and it needed to be told, and there's so much more. I know we're going to keep hearing from them. Make sure that you download your Wisdom from the Well card, like, subscribe, leave comments. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what's going on. I want to hear your beautiful stories of relationships with the birth families in your life, and maybe be as bold as to share how you've shifted from a place of judgment to a place of compassion for the birth families in your life. I know it's hard, and I mean, I'm there. I'm in there with you, and it's hard. So hang in there. We're doing this together, and just thank you. Thank you for loving on kids every single day, and don't forget to love on yourself, because we can't give what we don't have. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
Mama's well.
Yes, she is.